Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fix Your Plate with Dr. Monique. I guess that makes me Dr. Monique. I am your host, the physician in the kitchen. I'm super excited to be here with you on yet another Saturday morning. Come on in, let's sit and chat for a while. I hope your week went well. I myself have had an amazing week, busy as ever, but busy is good. It's good, and I'm excited to be here with you right now. I have switched things up a little bit. If you're watching this, you can see me now on YouTube. I've decided to start recording some video to go with the audio. So not only are you listening to me on WDRB radio and other streaming platforms, but now you can actually catch me too on YouTube as well. As always, you can drop me a note on that social thing at Physician in the Kitchen. If you have a burning question about food that you need answered, thinking about going plant-based, you don't know what to do, anything about food, please drop me a question at info@Physician in the Kitchen. Drop a line at info@drmoniquemay.com. If we choose your question and read it on the air, you will get a free autographed copy of my shiny new bestseller, Doc Fix My Plate, the Physician in the Kitchen's prescriptions for your healthy meal makeover. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to do story time, children. And I'm going to be reading some excerpts from my book. And I think that will give you kind of the personal behind the scenes, what helped me or what made me write this book. We've talked about it a little bit before, but I want to give you a little bit of the inside deal. So if you've got your copy, great. If you don't have your copy, it's not too late, because you can get it at docfixmyplatebook.com, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But before we get into that, I do want to thank our sponsor, May Medical Consulting PLLC, for sponsoring this program. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back on the other side and we're going to get into it. We're going to get into Doc Fix My Plate. Tell me all, it's a page turner. Don't go away.
If you want to educate, empower, and inspire our community, we're providing a wonderful opportunity for anyone who feels they can make a positive impact in the lives of others by applying to be an on-air radio personality. To set up an interview, call 877-342-7770. That's 877-342-7770 to apply. This is your chance to step out on faith. This is your chance to get the experience and education that you need in order to launch to the next level of greatness and make a significant difference. WDRB Media is now hiring on-air radio personalities. If this is you, no experience is required, no previous education needed. They do all the training. Call 877-342-7770 to set up your interview today.
All right. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, you are just in time. You are listening to Fix Your Plate with Dr. Monique. I am your host, the Physician in the Kitchen, Dr. Monique. And today we're doing book club. Let's call it that. We're doing book club today, where I'm going to share with you some excerpts from my book, Doc Fix My Plate book.com is where you can get your copy. But the name of the book is Doc Fix My Plate, the Physician in the Kitchen's prescriptions for your healthy meal makeover. It's a mouthful, but I am so excited about this book. I've been promoting it. I've been talking about it. And I really think it's a good addition to your cookbook library. If you're like me, you have at least 10. I'm way over 10, but my shelf is full and runneth over with cookbooks. But if you're like me, you've got room to squeeze one more in there. And the reason I think this book needs to be in your library, of course, because I wrote it, but not just that. Not only is it a cookbook, it has over 50 vegan recipes, but it also has tips and tricks on how to convert or build your plant-based pantry, how to look for when you go and say if you're eating out and you want to know internationally some cuisines to try that are plant-based. It has my favorite gadgets, my favorite utensils, because y'all know I'm the kitchen gadget junkie. That's a whole nother story. So that was a hard chapter for me to write because I had to narrow it down on what to include. But not only does it have all that, it has what I think makes it special, which is my journey. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background again. If you've missed it, that's okay. That's okay. We will go over it again because I want you to kind of understand why I do what I do, why I did what I did in writing this book, and why I'm using this platform, this radio platform, this social media platform, the way I am. So, a little bit about me. I'm a board certified family physician, born and raised in New York. Went to college at Chapel Hill, UNC Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Went to medical school, Temple University in Philadelphia, where I was in the top 10% of my class. I was named to the National Honor Medical Society. Went on and did my residency in Charlotte, where I was named Outstanding Resident of the Year. And, along the way, I've become, a 2-time best-selling author. I've been a consultant, a paid blogger, lots of different things that I've been blessed and privileged to do. First and foremost, of course, the most important one is being mother to my son, Mitchell, who is now a freshman at North Carolina A&T, Aggie Pride. So all of that. But if I may just tell you my real story, what really brought me to the physician in the kitchen is, as a little girl, I have warm, fuzzy memories of my grandmother, as most of us do. My maternal grandmother, Hattie Louise Anders, she and I were extremely close. She lived in Alabama. I lived in New York. So we visited when we could. And this is way before FaceTime and all that stuff. But I just remember really having her to myself. And that was easy. I'm the oldest granddaughter, and I have to remind my cousins of that from time to time. So when I got to have her to myself, it was really special. And so we'd be in the kitchen and she'd be cooking, or if she wasn't with us, she would send me this sweet bread that she would make, which is a plain. When I say plain, y'all, like it's plain yellow cake. There's no icing, there's no sprinkle, nothing. It's just a plain yellow cake. But it's the perfect combination of sweet with vanilla, and it's just perfect. And so when she would send it, I just felt so loved, incredibly loved, and just cherished. And so, those are my memories of being in the kitchen with her. Well, fast forward, I graduated from medical school. Obviously, her heart failure is getting worse. She's much more debilitated. And she was actually able to attend both my college and med school graduation. So I'm so thankful for that. But fast forward to about 4 or 5 months after I graduated from medical school, I get a call from my mother that Mama doesn't sound right. Her speech was slurred. So when I called her, it was very obvious she was in the middle of having a stroke, and advised her to get back to the hospital. She had left the hospital. She was there with my uncle, who himself had just had a stroke. Somehow she leaves to go home to drink apple cider vinegar. For those of you who don't know, apple cider vinegar is it's one of those home remedies that are used by folks in the South, Black folks in the South. So my grandmother swore by her apple cider vinegar. So she gets back to the hospital rather, and her stroke is pretty dense. She has a right-sided paralysis, speech is slurred, and once she was stabilized, they transferred her back to Alabama from Detroit. She was in Detroit at the time, and 2 days after she got back, she died. She passed away. So imagine my shock, my anger, all of the emotions. She was way too young. She was only 67, but she'd been a smoker. She was obese. She had high blood pressure. She may have been diabetic. I don't know. So all the things that we tell people, not to do, or we strongly encourage people not to do. So they had taken her toll. So I take all of that with me as I write this book, as I wrote this book, as I do this show, as I talk to anybody about fixing their plate. because I don't want other people to lose their grandmothers. I wish my grandmother were still here with me. I have friends, I'm 52. I have friends whose grandmothers are still living. I'm so envious and so jealous. So I want to do what I can to have others help others live long and, disease-free lives, right? Because what we eat really matters as far as how our bodies serve us. We serve our bodies by feeding it, and then our bodies in turn serve us. So that being said, let's get into this book, Doc Fix My Plate. So the back of the book, so I've talked about kind of all the stuff that's in the front, and it's all good. Believe me, it's all good. But I have a recipe in here called Grandma's Fried Corn. My mom gave me that recipe, and so she and I made it in the kitchen one day, and I said, well, I would like to put that in the book, and so it is here. So it's one of my favorites. I love corn, and I particularly love this recipe. But what we're going to do for the book club is there's a section in the book called My Veganish Journey, and let me talk about that term veganish for just a moment. I call myself vegan-ish because I am not completely vegan. That's full disclosure. So let's level set for a moment. Vegan, let's talk about what these terms mean, because sometimes it's confusing. So vegan means you, of course, don't eat anything animal-based, which is why I will never be completely vegan, because I like honey. I like honey in my tea. And if you're vegan, you cannot eat honey because it's made by bees. I'm more what we call plant-based, but we'll get to that in a second. So vegan, though, is not only just what you eat. If you believe in or practice veganism, you don't have anything to do with anything that was made or involves animals. So that would include not wearing leather or silk, even because it's made by silkworms. So, or you don't go to zoos. You may not go to zoos or aquariums. So that is vegan and veganism. I am plant-based, which means the majority of my diet is plant-based. Well, I have some fish every now and then, maybe. And so that could be getting into what's called pescatarian, where you eat largely a fish diet. But really, I'm gradually getting there. And that's the point. This is a journey. That's what makes it so exciting. I didn't wake up one day and just say, okay, today I'm going to be plant-based. No, it's a process that I did kind of start when I turned 50 2 years ago. I have to pause in there because it's 52 years ago. So I turned 50 in 2020, which was 2 years ago. 3 months after the world shut down, I turned 50. And of course, I was planning, as I said, I'm from New York, love New York, best city in the world. Wanted to go back, was planning to spend my birthday in New York and had to convert that to a Zoom party. But, you hit a major milestone like 50, you go through a pandemic, things start to, you start to prioritize or rethink your priorities. So my plant-based journey started then. And so when we come back after the break, I'm going to talk to you. We're going to read a little bit out of the book and talk about the ABCs according to Dr. Monique. Come back after the break and find out.
Calling all business owners, all independent artists, and all nonprofit organizations. If you are in need of radio advertising, we encourage you to call 877-342-7770. That's 877-342-7770. Through their Community Give Back Project, there is an entrepreneur foundation that is paying for free radio advertising. That's right, I said free, F-R-E-E, in support of our small business owners, independent artists, and nonprofit organizations. Please call 877-342-7770 in order to receive your free radio advertising today.
All right. Thank you so much for coming back. You are listening to Fix Your Plate with Dr. Monique on WDRB Radio and all streaming media. And I'm your host, Dr. Monique, and we are doing a book club. And the book we're doing is my book, Doc Fix My Plate, the Physician in the Kitchen's Prescriptions for Your Healthy Meal Makeover. So before the break, I set up the teaser about the ABCs. So I know we all know the ABCs, but you don't know these ABCs. So we talked about my veganist journey, how I turned 50 and, wanted to do better by my body and all that. So really started looking at the food supply, or what I was supplying my body, nourishing my body with, because I exercise almost every day. I do have high blood pressure, right? So my grandmother had it, my mom has it, and I have it. People look at me and say, "What? You have high blood pressure?" Yeah, I do, because genetics, you can't change those genes, right? We can't change that family history. So we control what we can control. So I exercise and I, try to eat the best I can. So that got me in, as I started on this journey, it was really a journey of discovery, So this is a cookbook, but it's also like a memoir kind of, because I, along the way, started discovering foods that were helping me on my plant-based journey. And so I decided, why not write a list? I love lists, right? I write down lists when I have to go to the store, things I have to do. Lists, our lists are bae, right? So I started a list. And so I called it Dr. Monique's Favorite Vegan Food ABCs. And it starts with, of course, A, and A is for avocado. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the A is for avocado. Okay. I love avocado. I loved avocado before I started this journey. I love it even more now. And so it was just amazing to me how you can use avocado. And so, fun fact, avocado is actually a fruit, right? We tend to think of it kind of as a vegetable, but it's really a fruit, or berry, in fact, because it has a fleshy pulp and a seed inside. So it's a fruit. I'm an avocado-holic. I even have a t-shirt that says avocado-holic. So it's real. It's a thing. But avocados are a superfood. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you some of these great nutritional facts about avocados. They contain tons of nutrients, fiber, antioxidants like folic acid. So if you're trying to get pregnant, we always recommend women of childbearing age to get their folic acid. It helps prevent neural tube defects, which affects the spinal cord. It's got omega-3 fatty acids, which are good kinds of fat, minerals like potassium and magnesium, and your vitamins A, C, D, E, and K. And they're cholesterol and sodium free. What? And I can mash them up and make a delicious dip like guacamole. Yes, check please. But not only that, you can use literally avocados can be used from breakfast to dessert, because you can make avocado toast. I have a delicious avocado waffle recipe in here. Instead of the egg, use waffle. Instead of the eggs, I use avocado. Amazing. Appetizers, of course, like guacamole. You can use it to make like a pesto and toss your pasta in it. And dessert, like if you've never had a chocolate avocado pudding, you don't know what you're missing. It's so luscious and creamy, and it's just, but I digress. So avocados, though, are a bit of a diva, which is maybe why I like them. But they, as far as like their shelf life, like if avocado can just be not cute if they're not stored right, or if they're past their prime, they turn all brown inside, they get mushy. So it's kind of like this sometimes little dance, you get them really hard, you can't really use them then. But then as they ripen, you want to be sure you don't let them get overripe, because then they're not cute anymore. But I think they're, even as high maintenance as they are, and I myself have been described as high maintenance, so maybe that's why I'm saying this. I think they're worth it. If you can work avocados into your, into your diet, your menu once or twice a week, I think you'll be very well rewarded. I've even used them to make avocado popsicles. Yes. Like for real, no cap, as the kids say. So avocados are really just, and when paired with cilantro, which, spoiler alert, cilantro also made the list. You'll have to tune in a couple of weeks to hear about that story. But when paired with cilantro and like cumin, garlic, I could go on and on. So, um, speaking of choosing or how they can go bad, you want it when you're shopping for your avocados. What you want to do is, they really don't like when you go in the grocery store and just squeeze all the, and I'm guilty of this, I admit, but if you can try not to abuse the avocados, one tip is the stem at the top, usually. If it's still on there, you can flick that off. And if it's green, that tells you that avocado is nice and good is good to go. It's ripe and not, it may even still be firm. You may have to let it kind of soften up on your countertop for a couple of days. You can refrigerate it if you want to slow down the process, but if you want to use it the next day or two, just put it on your countertop. But if you flick that little top off and it's already brown, put it down. You don't need it. Also, the darker the avocado, like other fruits, the riper it tends to be. So now that we know how to, pick our avocado and all the healthy things that it does for us, think about ways that you can, use an avocado. Because I have some friends who are like, ugh, yuck, avocado. And I feel so bad for them. I really think they're just missing out on avocado-ness. But to each their own, And that's why, y'all, I'll admit, I sneak stuff. As long as people don't have allergies to things, I will sneak stuff into a recipe. And then after oh my God, that was the best thing ever, I'll tell them, well, yeah, that was such and such. I've done it to my son and my dad more times than I can count, the sworn meat eaters in the family. So yes, I will sneak an avocado in on you if I can, particularly in the waffle recipe. The waffle recipe has literally everything else in a classic avocado recipe. I just swapped out the eggs. And then you would think, it would turn some green. Not like you would think. It's a cute thing, I think, if you want to serve on St. Patrick's Day or what have you. But it's not like, the Grinch green. It's not going to make your food look like that. So, and one other tip too about ripening, we talked about how to slow down the process of ripening by putting it in the fridge. But if you want to speed up the process of ripening, then you can put the avocados in a bag, a paper bag. So if you're still packing brown paper bags, I actually have some. I keep some on hand for this kind of thing. And when my son was in school and he had to take a lunch on a field trip, and they wanted everything to be disposable. Your moms know what I'm talking about. You have those brown paper bags in your pantry. But if you put the avocado, the unripe, the very firm avocado in the paper bag with either a banana or an apple, I believe it's methylene gas. It's something that the apple and the banana give off. And if you put them in the bag with the avocado, they help to soften the avocado. So I thought that was a pretty neat trick. I've actually used this. It actually does work. You probably want to give it 3 or 4 days. It's not going to be poof magic. It's, you put it in the bag the next day, but you want to give it at least a couple of days to see the effect. You can microwave them. I've never done that, but that is a thing that some people do when they want to they want to soften up the avocado. They'll put it in the microwave. The other thing too about your avocados, let's take a break because all this talk about avocados, I don't have any. I want to eat one, but let's take a quick break. We're going to come back and wrap up and give you some recipes, talk about some recipes, how you can incorporate avocado into your life. Be right back on the other side.
God has placed in each of us a purpose. It's all a part of His perfect plan that while we are on this journey, we discover, develop, and birth the greatness within. In this book, you will find keys to how to discover the greatness within you and the reason it exists. Learn the 7 stages of birthing the greatness within. God has placed you here and now for such a time as this. You have greatness inside of you. The world needs you. to receive this best-selling book in exchange for a tax-deductible gift. Call 877-342-7770. That's 877-342-7770.
All right. Welcome back to Welcome back to Fix My Plate with Dr. Monique. The name of the show is Fix Your Plate with Dr. Monique. The name of the book is Doc Fix My Plate. So sometimes I'll get them twisted, but it's all the same. It's all good. So welcome back to Fix Your Plate with Dr. Monique. I am your host, and thank you so much for listening and for watching on YouTube. So we are doing Dr. Monique's favorite vegan food ABCs. Today is letter A. So we're in book club mode. We're discussing the book. I'm sharing with you my insights in the book. If you haven't gotten your copy, please grab it, because we are gift giving season is coming up. Grab a copy, grab two for you and a friend at docfixmyplatebook.com. It is an Amazon bestseller, but please buy it directly from me. You'll get an autograph and some little perks that you don't get when you get it from Amazon. So please buy it from me at docfixmyplatebook.com. So we are wrapping up our discussion about avocado, which is a fruit. I mean, we've covered a lot. If you missed the beginning, just go back and watch it on the replay or check it out on YouTube. It's fine. But avocado is a fruit. It is full of fiber and vitamins and minerals and all the good things. I tend to use it in place of eggs. So I think it's kind of funny because it's kind of shaped like an egg. And then I use it. I'm a little bit of a food nerd, y'all. I own it. But that's how I came to put it in my waffle recipe, because I was using it in place of an egg. So one thing I do want to say before we wrap up about storing avocados, because they can be very finicky. We talked about how they can be kind of diva. But when you cut your avocado, so people typically slice it in half. If you're only going to use half of the avocado, use the half without the seed. So, and the reason I say that is because you can leave that seed in, because basically avocados oxidize like nobody's business, okay? Oxidize means they turn brown when their surface hits the air, like an apple does, potatoes do. Well, avocados do it on like steroids. So what you want to do is leave the seed in the avocado, because that's going to keep that surface protected. And then you can drizzle some olive oil, maybe even squeeze a little bit of lemon or lime juice on there, and wrap it up in saran wrap, plastic wrap, to keep that surface protected. And that'll buy you an extra day or two. I wouldn't, it's not a long-term fix, but it will keep that avocado another day or so if you're not ready to eat the whole thing. So avocado makes a few guest appearances in my book. I did talk about the waffles. And I actually put cilantro in there. Usually I don't cook cilantro, but I do go ahead and sprinkle some into my batter just to kind of give it a little, oomph. Listen, my waffles are fancy, so I do it that way. But yeah, so you be sure to check out the book. Let me know if you got the book. Drop me a line at info@drmoniquemay.com or on social media at Physician in the Kitchen, and let me know what your favorite recipe is. So that is my time for this week. Time flies. I swear time goes so fast when I'm having fun. Now on that Peloton bike, that's a different story. Time does not go quickly, but be sure to tune in next week, because what comes after A? B. So I'll go ahead and give you a sneak peek, but B is for beans. But I'll tell y'all, in the time since I've written and released this book, berries is on that list too, but we'll talk about it next week. So until next week, please be sure to eat the rainbow, invest in your health, one plate at a time, plant-based your pantry, keep it 100 plant-based for the culture, all of the hashtags, and come back and tune in to me next Saturday, 8 a.m. I am your host, Dr. Monique. It's been my absolute pleasure to talk with you about fixing your plate. Until next week, follow me on social media, Physician in the Kitchen.